Unlike most of my colleagues and friends who've taken the noble task of making sense of the chaos that's already in the archive, I've decided to do the devil's task of adding more confusion to the archives. So the first one is relatively straightforward. It's a day in the life of the university today. It was filmed in March, and it was finished like day before. So none of you have seen it. Like, it's the first public screening of both the films, in fact. But the first one is relatively straightforward. The only sort of abstract bit is a dream in the end. It's something I just can't seem to be rid of. Like, dreams seem to flow into all my work. I don't know, it's a burden I can't seem to be rid of. So with the dream, the text, it's a modified version of my own dream. The text is a bit dense, the accent a bit heavy. So don't worry if you don't follow the full import of the story, because it's a bit difficult to follow, let's say, and it would take like 2 or 3 viewings. But yeah, like, I think you will find enough to appreciate even in the dream sequence. Also because it's filmed in the Chancellor's court and it blends the buildings, the people, and the sort of people experiences together. And hopefully I've created some of that magic of the domes of Istanbul because of the diffused light and the tint used. So we'll jump straight to the film.
I did my undergraduate degree in a different university, completing it 4 years ago. I then started working in the industry, but felt it honestly just wasn't for me. So I embarked on choosing something different, something that I am interested in. I chose University of Birmingham because the course is really highly regarded in the railway industry, which will increase my chances of employment once I graduate. But I didn't realise how diverse the course was. In fact, I'm the only English full-time student. And because of this, there are a lot of languages flying around the office. In fact, there's 3. So I'm trying to listen to all these languages while still doing my work. I've also tried food, ensaladilla, croquetas, paella as well. And I think I've learnt more about the world and the cultures from these people than from my course itself. And it was a big risk to leave my job and start the whole uni process all over again, but I've loved every minute of it. Some people say you shouldn't try to relive something, but why not? I've realised my dreams, and this university has given me that opportunity. My advice is, know what you want to do and make sure you do everything you can to achieve it.
The main factor in my decision to do my degree at the University of Birmingham was my first impressions of the campus. It was a sunny day on my interview day and the campus looked beautiful. My expectations before I came to uni was that it would lead to a job I found both interesting and engaging. I thought university would open many doors and that I wouldn't end up back at the waitressing job I had before uni. We'll see what happens though. I think I may have been naive. In everyday life on campus, I avoid walking under the clock tower. People say if you walk under it when it strikes, you'll fail your degree. I've definitely become more aware of this the closer I get to finishing my degree.
My course was nothing I could anticipate. The reason I chose environmental geoscience was because I wanted to change the world one step at a time, so the environment was all I cared about. My course has supplied me with extra knowledge about the geology of the planet, its history and physical behavior. It is a side I never sought knowledge in, but has now become a part of me. I have convinced the head of education in my department to change the title of the course into environmental geology, so future students will not be taken aback as I was in my first year, and have an idea of what the course is really about. Along the journey, I have also made numerous friends that I know will still be part of my life even after I graduate. The University of Birmingham, thanks for the memories.
So I came at the university, quitting industry, to discover an environment where all the knowledge specialists were. I came here and indeed I met some of the specialists in any field, the scientifics, the artists, the economists, the political scientists. And I was wondering, to what extent their fields are really applied here on the campus, and to what extent the university is proposing some kind of novel social structure where our social environment could be inspired and maybe want to follow some of the ideas developed here. I had the impression that they tend to create an environment that is not reflecting all this knowledge altogether. So in our campus we have the most expensive products, so I'm wondering what the economists are doing. We have less than 5% of students that are involved in the politics, so I'm wondering what the politics department is doing. We don't have so many concerts, exhibitions, so I'm wondering what the arts are doing, etc. I didn't get this thing I was looking for, that this is a sort of university, with the universalist approach of things where people try to get knowledge all together and not to specialize in a field, because finally don't know to what extent we're useful to the society if we cannot really on a campus produce an environment that is a sort of society pilot environment.
One unusually sunny afternoon in March, I found myself alone in the university square. It being a normal working day, I recalled my pleasant surprise at this unforeseeable circumstance and sensed a general sort of contentment. Suddenly, there emerged from behind me a rather strange-looking man who stared greedily as he passed by. Without a moment's thought, I decided in favor of ignoring the incident. Paying no heed to the omens of the impending discovery, I set out on a merry stroll along the labyrinthine pathways of the solitary square. I was pleased, furthermore, only momentarily though, as my closest friends appeared along the fading trees and the monumental tower, almost as if they needed anchoring against the steep slope of ground and the steady march of time. With terror, I realized that my friends weren't my friends at all, but cohorts of the infamous and unapproachable group named the Faceless People. Two disconnected thoughts led me to my startling discovery. One, the legend of the Faceless People, which holds that members of this secretive clan vanish at the slightest suspicion of any human contact. And two, the centuries-old philosophical dictum postulated by Schopenhauer and crystallized by Borges in his stories, that of the unity of mankind. One man is all men. All men who speak a line of Shakespeare are William Shakespeare. Humiliated and in despair, I resigned myself to the forbidden arc of the ancient tower. As a sparrow leisurely cut across the sky, already divided by the endless tower, I awoke with the sound of bells still tolling in my ears. Ever since, even in my waking hours, the university hasn't been the same. Each time I look at the sprawling campus, I only see an infinite series of small mutilated buildings, each exactly identical to the other, yet each completely isolated and sorrowful, almost in a world of its own.
There ends the first one. As you can see, like, it started off with more positive notes, and towards the end it got a bit darker. It had darker undertones as the story slowly developed. But yeah, that's sort of the first work. The second one, yeah, it needs a bit more of an introduction because, one, it's a lot personal, hence necessarily abstract. Necessarily abstract. I'll explain, alright. I was skeptical of how relevant it was to be added to the archives, but Dr. Helen and Dr. Malcolm convinced me, also with the argument that there aren't enough personal stories added to the archives already. And then the second one was filmed in my sort of private accommodation in Sturchley, which is a suburb here. So this gives another sort of fleeting glance at private accommodations, like as a backdrop, not as the central story, but as a backdrop. And finally, like, it's a very personal piece. It's a piece I couldn't have made anywhere else because it's sort of like my nostalgia, not for the university, but it's sort of my memories of my childhood and my time in India. And I feel like this is a story I couldn't have made anywhere else. Like, I've stayed outside. I was in Italy last year, but like, I felt sort of so close to the Italian culture, I didn't really feel too nostalgic about home. Here, I don't know what, is it the grey weather or the reserved British sort of culture, which I think I'm slowly growing fond of. These sort of factors trigger like a personal sort of nostalgia in me, which has resulted in the creation of this film. Like, it's called Memories. Normally I'm not very good being like open about my sort of personal stories. I like to sort of run away. That's why I'm more comfortable behind the camera rather than in front. Like, this man pointing at me, it just freaks me out, but I'm trying to keep my cool. But yeah, anyhow, like, something for you to sort of follow the story. The way I look at cinema, I see cinema as an art form, not really as a means of entertainment, because I don't like the sort of commercialization of cinema. It's something I can't stand, but it's a trend I cannot sort of ignore. So, I don't know, like all art form, which Tarkovsky, my favorite director, he says that any art, its ultimate goal is to sort of raise the question of man's purpose. So my sort of film had lofty ambitions. It set out with high aspirations of almost trying to remind man, take all of us to a period almost back to eternity. Like, it's very difficult to explain these concepts in words. Hence, I use symbols, and I reverted to childhood as that period of beloved images, which everyone, like, in all phases of life, even me now at 24, I can already feel connected to those sort of cherished images of childhood, because they blend, I don't know, dreams, like the space crumbles, time crumbles when you deal with childhood memories. So I don't know, it's a very personal piece, and because it's symbolic, because it's abstract, I don't think there's any possible way of reading it in a rational, scientific way. The only sort of the request I make of you guys is to follow it more with your emotions and almost intuitively. That's the only possible way of trying to grasp this film. And of course, it's being screened for the first time, so yeah, feel free to express your opinions. It'd be nice to know.
उस लम्हे के लिए जीता हूँ, हकीकत जब ख्वाबों में रंग जाती है। आसमान में फेंकी मेरी एक चिंगारी, सूरज चीर उसकी शमा निकल जाती है। उनकी नज़र आईने से पड़ती इस ओर, मेरी लौ चंचल हवा में लहरा उठती है। अपनी आँखों से पीने की इजाज़त देती हैं वो, लड़खड़ाता मैं ऊंचाइयों में बढ़ता जाता हूँ। पिघलती आखिरी सांस मेरी मोम की मरती उस नहर में घुलती है और मेरी पलकों पर बिछ जाती है। बसंत में उन मौन पंछियों की फुसफुसाती आस की यादें। मेरी शमा से जलकर हर डर पिघल जाता है और मुस्कुराता मैं आते अंधकार के इंतजार में डूब जाता हूँ।